Running a business involves making decisions all the time. Some are small. What should I post this week? Should I follow up with that customer? Do I need to change this process? Others are much bigger. Should I put my prices up? Should I launch something new? Should I hire help? Should I invest in support, software, marketing, or training? Some decisions are quick and practical. Others affect your time, your money, your customers, your capacity, or the direction of your business. And when a decision feels difficult, it's easy to assume the problem is confidence. You might think you need to feel more certain, more decisive, or more ready before you make the choice. But often the challenge isn't whether you're capable of making the decision. It's whether you have the right information in front of you to make it properly. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. Because confidence in business doesn't usually come from trying to feel more confident. Because confidence in business doesn't usually come from trying to feel more confident. It comes from understanding the decision more clearly. Hi, I'm Marie from Next Steps for Business, where I help small business owners improve their business one step at a time. Business decisions often feel harder than they should because they're rarely made with one perfect answer in front of you. There are often trade-offs, cost against benefit, time against capacity, short-term pressure against long-term direction. What feels sensible now against what will still make sense 6 months from now. That's what makes decision-making in a small business so important. You're not just choosing between right and wrong. You're often choosing between several possible routes, each with different consequences for the business. That can make even a fairly practical decision feel more complicated than it first appears. Not because you aren't capable of making it, but because the decision needs context. It needs information. It needs a clearer view of what the business actually needs, what the options are, and what each option is likely to affect. Without that, it's easy for the decision to sit in the business for too long. Not because it's being ignored, but because there isn't enough clarity to move it forward yet. That's usually the point where more thinking doesn't help very much, because better information is the thing that's going to help. The problem usually isn't you, it's missing information. If you've been stuck on a decision for a while, it doesn't automatically mean you're indecisive. It might mean there's a piece of information you're missing. You might not know whether the business can afford it. You might not know whether there's enough demand. You might not know how much time it'll take. You might not know what result you need from it. You might not know what problem you're trying to solve. Without that information, your brain has to fill in the gaps. And it usually fills them in with worry. That's why a decision can feel impossible one day, then much simpler once you look at the numbers, check the process, or write down the options properly. The decision itself hasn't changed, the information around it has. That's what creates confidence. Not blind optimism, not pretending there's no risk, not waiting until you feel completely certain. Just giving yourself enough useful information to make the next decision properly. Confidence comes from knowing what you're looking at. Confidence in business doesn't always mean knowing the answer immediately. It means knowing how to look at the situation. There's a big difference. If you're deciding whether to improve your marketing, you need to understand what isn't working. Is the problem reach? Is the problem inquiries? Is the problem conversion? Is the problem that people are interested but they're not ready to buy? Those are very different problems and they need different decisions. If you're deciding whether to put your prices up, there's more to consider than the price itself. There's your costs, your profit, your capacity, your position in the market, your customer, and the value you're delivering. They all matter. There's the type of task, the impact on the customer, the way the work's currently done, and the capacity it could create. They all matter. That's why good decisions need more than instinct. They need the right information around them. When you know what you're looking at, the decision becomes less emotional. It doesn't mean it becomes effortless, it just becomes clearer. And clearer decisions are usually better decisions. More information isn't always better information. It's worth saying here that this doesn't mean collecting endless information. You don't need to research forever. You don't need to compare every possible option. And you don't need to wait until there's nothing left to question. In fact, too much information can make things worse. You can end up researching, comparing, checking, second guessing, and convincing yourself that one more piece of information will finally make you feel better. But useful information is different from more information. Useful information helps you understand the decision in front of you. It helps you understand what the decision affects, what result you need, what you already know, and what you're still missing. There's a difference between collecting information and using information. One can keep you stuck. The other helps you move forward with the decision. Why waiting for certainty keeps you stuck? One of the biggest traps in business is waiting until you feel certain. It sounds sensible, it feels responsible, but most business decisions don't come with complete certainty. You rarely get a guaranteed answer. You rarely know exactly how something will turn out. You rarely have every piece of information you'd ideally like. If you wait for certainty, you can end up doing nothing for months. Not because you don't care, not because you're lazy, not because you're avoiding your business, but because you're waiting for a level of reassurance that business rarely gives you. The aim isn't to remove every risk. The aim is to understand the risk well enough to make a considered decision. That might mean deciding to go ahead. It might mean deciding to wait. It might mean deciding to test something on a smaller scale first. It might mean deciding that the idea isn't right for now. All of those can be good decisions. What matters is that the decision is based on information and not panic, pressure, or guesswork. A simple way to think about this. So if there's a decision in your business that feels unclear, start by asking a better question. Not, why am I not confident enough to decide? But instead, what information would make this decision clearer? That question changes the focus. It moves you away from criticising yourself for not feeling certain. And it moves you forward understanding what the decision actually needs. You might realise you already have enough information and you've just been putting off the choice. You might realise you need to check your numbers. You might realise you need to speak to a customer, review your capacity, compare your options, or test the idea on a smaller scale first. The point is not to make every decision complicated. It's to make the decision visible. Because once you can see it clearly, you can work through it properly. And once you work through it properly, you're much less likely to feel as though you're guessing. This is one of the core ideas behind the Next Steps way. Information creates confidence. Not because information gives you a perfect answer every time. It doesn't. But it gives you something solid to work from. It helps you understand where your business is at now. What's working? What isn't? What needs attention? What can wait? What decision needs to be made next? Without that information, everything can feel urgent. Everything can feel risky. Everything can feel like it depends on instinct. And while instinct has its place, it shouldn't have to carry the whole business. The more you understand your business, the easier it becomes to make decisions that actually support it. That doesn't mean every decision will feel easy. Some decisions will still feel uncomfortable. Some will still require courage. Some will still involve uncertainty. But when you have the right information in front of you, you're not just hoping that you're making the right choice. You're making a considered one. And that's where confidence starts. So if there's a decision you've been putting off, don't start by asking yourself why you're not confident enough. Ask yourself what information would make the decision clearer. Then go and find that next piece. Because confidence doesn't usually arrive before the decision. It builds as you understand what you're deciding, why it matters, and what your next step needs to be. And if you'd like more practical business support, subscribe for more videos to help you build a clearer, stronger business, one step at a time. And as always, well done for taking some time to work on your business and not just in your business with me today. I'll catch you on the next one.